I hope everybody's taking advantage of meeting with people. I had some interesting conversations, not just about business, but about learning opportunities. So I think my encouragement for today is learn all you can, and connect with some cool people. Um, if you are going to the F1 event, tomorrow is the qualifying round, and Sunday is the big event. So I think I was talking to Michael yesterday, and I think they increased. There's 10,000 more people, I believe, coming this year than last year, and they're trying to increase that even more. Anyway, um, I I think it's like somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000 people will be in Miami for the event this weekend. So the impact, the economic impact to small businesses, to I mean restaurants, to marketing, to just the entire South Florida economy is insane, and that's just one event. Um, that 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 same stadium is going to host World Cup 2026. They're getting ready for that. They host I can't remember what tennis tournament as well, but it's just incredible how much impact they have in that one stadium. Anyway, 9:40. I think we're 5 minutes late, but we'll keep this on time. So, brand purpose, moving goods and doing good. Um, Betsy Wilson, the VP of Digital Marketing and Activation for UPS, will come up on stage with the moderator, Paula Cobb, VP of Enterprise Marketing for Everfi. Welcome to stage.
Okay, we'll do microphones.
Well, I am actually Kristen Catasso, my wonderful colleague Paula Cobb. I'm standing in for today, so that's that's actually that is me. But I love Paula, so if you want to, okay, cool. um, I'm so excited to be here with Betsy today. We were emailing and chatting before we came, and I said I have a 5-year-old who's obsessed with UPS. And if you don't know who UPS is, you've probably been living under a rock for the last 50 years, but they do it so well. My son calls them Santa Claus because every time they come to the house, they bring joy. And UPS started showing up in all of these amazing places. Betsy's going to share a little bit with us today about why UPS is targeting the SMBs. They launched in 2020 was the global campaign, the digital global campaign called Be Unstoppable. They magically appeared at New York Fashion Week. They had an alignment with the film industry. They're with Pharrell Williams, and his production company. So, this wonderful lady, who's the VP of Digital Marketing, Betsy, what's going on? Tell me about this.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me. Nice to see you. Enjoyed talking to some of you at breakfast. Yeah, so UPS is a 115-year-old company. It's a global company. And a lot of you probably think what Kristen thinks, which is this great company, like trustworthy, good brand, that sort of thing. But we have a little bit of a brand challenge in the sense that people have sort of put us in this box, old-fashioned company, brown uniforms, kind of old school legacy type company. And to a certain extent it is quite true. We will deliver 25 million packages today. And that takes like a big organization and structure and all of that. But from a brand perspective, it was getting us a little bit in trouble. And what we are trying to target from a business perspective are small and medium sized businesses. So I am thrilled that we have huge enterprise customers who fill up our network with packages. But really, the profit battleground for our company is small and medium sized businesses. And we were not terribly relevant to them. I'll play you a video in a minute where my boss talks about, our CMO talks about sort of our position. You know, we did some qualitative research, and people will tell you what they think of you in qualitative research. Just give them some M&Ms, and they'll tell you. And we said, well, what would the guy, if UPS were a person at a bar, what would he or she look like? And they were like, probably really nice, probably like an older guy drinking a scotch. And then this was the killer, probably with a comb over. and a brown truck. And that was sort of like our rallying cry. Like how do we become the company that doesn't have the comb over? So we have done a few things to try to really be more relevant, and we actually track it through a proprietary tracking that we call it brand relevance, to just try to see can we move the needle and actually become a more relevant company, particularly to these small businesses, and particularly to younger and more diverse small businesses. And so that's what we've set out to do, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we've done. But that's sort of the setup. We came out with this campaign in 2020 called Be Unstoppable, based on this insight that if you are an entrepreneur, and some of you in this room might be entrepreneurs, there's something about you that's different. You want to succeed, you want to achieve something for yourself by yourself to a certain extent. And that's different than people like me who work in corporate America, right? And those people have this kind of like unstoppable spirit. And so we wanted to just sort of recognize that and sort of honor that and showcase those people as heroes. I know you're an entrepreneur, right? Um, and so that's what the campaign is about. Is like a company like UPS can just help you do that. We're not going to get in your way. We're not going to like do it for you, but we are like an ingredient in your success. So go, achieve your goals. Go run through that wall. So that's the campaign.
And Betsy, why was it so important from a marketing standpoint to target SMBs?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, our business is growing mostly internationally and through acquisition and things like that. But in terms of where we have an opportunity to make money and profit, small and medium-sized businesses really offer more of a profitable opportunity for us. So, and we've grown our market share by 11 points in the last 4 years. So we've seen some good success, which is nice. I mean, the Postal Service is actually our biggest competitor in that space. Lightweight shipments is where we really haven't competed, and so now we're trying to be more relevant. We've done things with pricing and product and all the standard marketing things. Hey, welcome. Um, but really, it's an opportunity for growth for us, which is why we've focused on it. And it's not just in the U.S. We actually focus on small businesses around the world. And digital actually plays a really strong role in that because we have salespeople who call on, I don't know, Macy's or whatever, like huge companies. But really, digital marketing is the only way we really communicate in a lot of cases with these small businesses. It's digital experience and digital marketing. And so they're sort of our people. We're trying to give them a hug.
Do you want to cue up the video and
Sure.
and kind of check that Be
Yeah.
Unstoppable campaign? And then I have
Yeah.
some questions post that too to ask you about your KPIs in digital marketing.
Yeah, sure. So this is my CMO, Kevin, and I'm just going to play you this video. There's more to do. Does that surprise any of you guys?
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Well, that's the plan. So hopefully it's
Well,
rising.
I mean, it, to me, that's amazing. And obviously, you did a successful job in transforming a legacy brand into something that's modern and relevant. Can you talk about that and some of the steps for our marketing professionals and how you got there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the reason I asked you if you thought it was surprising is because that was a little bit of our goal, right? We can run ads and we can talk about new products and services that we have all day long. And we have like really smart media buys and really good creative people and all that stuff. But when you have such an established brand, it is really hard to change people's perceptions. It's really, really hard. People are just get stuck. And we've been working on it for so long. And so what we kind of decided to do was just shake people by the lapels. Like that is actually on some of our briefs. Shake people by the lapels. Like, hey, look again, please, because it's so easy to think about UPS. And we have an interesting brand challenge in the sense that people like us, like people don't hate us for the most part. If we've lost your package, I'm sorry, you might hate us. But for the most part, people do actually, like UPS. And so it's not like you're taking something from a negative to a positive. It's just changing the way people see you. So that's why you see some of the things that were on that screen, trying to actually kind of break those perceptions and shift them to a different way.
So, this discussion is about purpose today
Yeah.
and what is UPS's overall arching purpose.
Yeah, so we have a CEO that came in right during COVID 2020. First female CEO ever of UPS, first CEO from outside our company. I know, amazing. Carol Tomei, she's fantastic. And realized that we didn't really have like a purpose that like the company and all the employees could really rally around. So they set up this purpose statement. You can imagine purpose statement by committee was a little bit hard, but they did okay. Moving our world forward by delivering what matters is the statement. And, I think that's a very internal statement and it's broad and it can mean a lot of things. But I think for marketing, a marketing team where our job is to sell, right? We're not necessarily doing reputation, we are selling. It became this charge to say, how do we incorporate purpose into selling? Right. And I think I have a CMO who really believes that those two things are not mutually exclusive, that it's not like there's a purpose thing over here and there's a selling marketing thing over here. He really believes that it's sort of this 1 + 1 = 3. If you strategically think about a way to embed purpose into your marketing, you can actually get a stronger outcome. I think it's more true now than ever, just given I think the way people think about brands and especially big companies. Like there's this expectation that big companies should be doing things to help, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so we've really really embedded that into a lot of our programs and some of it you saw there, but we can talk more about it.
No, you mentioned two things that are really important. I was talking with Guillermo last night at dinner, and we were talking about the importance of sales and marketing. And I love that you say that they are not exclusive of each other; they are inclusive. How, as you as a team leader, as the VP of digital marketing, is it important that you talk to sales and that you keep them kind of close to your helm?
Yeah, sure, for sure. Like I said, we have a sales model where our smallest customers don't get touched by salespeople, right? They may have like a person they can call, but for the most part, they're interacting with us digitally. I think as you go up in the size of the customer and the complexity of their logistics needs, obviously there are salespeople that go, and we stay really close with those folks in terms of helping them understand what we're doing, getting our customers engaged in those programs, some of what you saw on the screen and really helping them understand like what we care about, what's important to us. And a lot of times, you find shared values, right? Because what's important to us is also often important to other companies. So yes, short answer.
And I love what you say about corporate social responsibility. That's the space that I come from, and my company provides the technology to help companies get there. And I see a lot of global companies who are waving the flag about DEI and women's issues and benchmarking with the UN sustainability goals, but very few people are taking the steps to do that. I find UPS is one of the leaders in that. Can you talk about some of those initiatives?
Yeah, I can talk about it from a marketing perspective. We have an incredible like foundation that gives hundreds of millions of dollars, and we have, folks who are really focused on some of those programs internally and externally. So I won't speak to that, but I will speak to how, from a marketing perspective, we are trying to incorporate some of those ideas. So so we launched this campaign in the middle of the pandemic, which was interesting, called Be Unstoppable, when literally everything stopped. Also interesting kind of kitchen table moment at UPS where you're like, are we doing this or not? Um, but quickly realized, working with one of our lead partners, the Martin Agency in Richmond, Virginia, we said, we have this campaign for small businesses, but a lot of small businesses are really hurting, like really hurting during the pandemic, and particularly those from diverse communities or women owned or diverse owned businesses who have, systemically less access to capital or resources, et cetera. So we created this kind of sub campaign called Proudly Unstoppable. And it was essentially trying to shine a light on some of these underserved communities and the businesses within them by through a couple of things. One was, focusing on them, featuring them in our social media, right? So spotlighting them, telling their stories. We also had like a financial, like a grant program. So these are not like $1 million grants. These are like $5,000, $10,000 grants that we did through like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce or the 30-day fund, just to help companies kind of keep going, like make the next payroll or pay their rent for that month, that sort of thing. But the most visible thing that we did is we went to the communities and found artists in those communities to create artwork for our boxes. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, well, Connor has one over there. Actually, that's our newest one. Okay, here, you see some of the boxes here. That's our newest one that launches next week, and that's done by a Chinese American artist named Stevie Xiao. And that's in celebration of AAPI Heritage Month. But you can see we've done Black-owned businesses, LGBTQ plus owned businesses. These are women ones we did. That's an artist from Germany. So yeah, so we do this, and honestly, like that just draws attention to the idea. That's not the idea, but it draws attention to it. And we'll produce like 600,000 of those boxes, and they just like run through our system. So they'll be out there for a while, and then that art becomes sort of the creative inspiration for our whole campaign. So we've done that, gosh, 7 or 8 times now. And it's just this great way of storytelling and bringing attention to these businesses and these communities. And we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. So this, I think, is what my CMO is talking about, which is this is sort of a purpose-driven thing, but it's also still right on strategy. It's right about small businesses. It's about lifting them up. It's about empowering them, telling their stories. So it's kind of this 1+1 is 3. You're getting more because you're adding a purpose element to it.
Storytelling is so important from a sales and marketing perspective and reaching your customers. Can you share with the audience one of your most favorite stories about UPS?
Say it again.
Can you please share one of your most favorite stories
Oh, is this
about
the
UPS?
Taylor
You don't
Swift
have to do the Taylor Swift thing if you don't feel compelled to do so, but we
Oh,
have a
my
lot of
favorite
music
stories
connections
about.
together.
Yeah. No, you're gonna ask me the question, right? No, I will say that the very first one that I showed you, it was pink. That's an artist named Sophia Yeshi. She's in New York, and she is multicultural, South Asian, African American, queer. Like she's really like this unique person who brings this unique perspective. And we shot some content with her, and she was just so grateful and so excited. And it's really been sort of a catalyst in her career. She's now working with other brands. So like to me, that's a really nice story. And then I will say, with this campaign, with the AAPI campaign that's about to launch, we did a piece of content with a business owner, and in talking to her, she's Indian, South Asian, and she runs a clothing line and lives in the US. And she said, the thing that drives me crazy is that people ask me where I'm from. And she's like, from New York, or I think she lives in New York. And so we created this piece of content where it's like, people always ask me where I'm from, and I wish they would ask me where I'm going. And we created, I don't have it because it's not done yet. I would have brought it. but like we've shown it to a bunch of people and it's like tears because this is like this shared experience for these folks. And it's really like, and she got to tell her story. So I'm excited about that launching.
That's amazing. I'm going to start asking it that now to people. Where are you going?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's have a little bit of fun. What keeps you up at night?
Oh, like from a job perspective.
Anything.
Yeah, no, I think it's really this journey that we're on and like, are we making enough progress? I go to things like this or we talk to people and they're not feeling that brand shift right now quite yet. And, I wish we had all the money in the world to tell everybody, but we don't. And that's okay. That's welcome to the real world, right? But I want to make sure that people are starting to kind of feel it, right? And understand that UPS is this different company. Like when I tell people we have a woman CEO, people are like, "That's amazing." I'm like, "It is amazing. I wish everybody knew. Everybody could talk to her 'cause she's amazing." And so I think what keeps me up at night is like, just how do we keep pushing? How do we keep making sure that people are understanding, what UPS stands for, and that we're different. We're different than we used to be.
Absolutely. And what's your biggest accomplishment?
Oh gosh. Well, you saw some of those brand relevance numbers. Those were very good for me internally. um, but yeah, we've really moved the needle. So those numbers are just with SMBs. We ask them every quarter kind of how UPS is doing relative to competition, and we've seen some really good movement. And we even ask people about like Amazon and some of the other kind of newer competitors in our space, and we've really seen some good brand progress. So I am proud of that.
Well, you have done some amazing things at UPS, and I'm so proud of all the DEI initiatives and the corporate social responsibility, and you taking the helm as a vice president and a women leader in your community to do that. So thank you for all of your wonderful
Thanks for the chance
initiatives.
to be here.
And I want to open up some questions to the audience because I know they're very excited. Yes, Gary.
Hi. Yeah.
So you mentioned the challenge of putting all of this campaign together that started with the research, and then you probably bring an agency in,
Yeah.
and you have like this whole idea of impacting the outside world. But we know that that's just the start, and there's also a challenge that I would love to hear you talking about, which is how do you get all of the teams and all of the thousands of employees to embrace that campaign to make sure that the outside world would actually perceive it in the long term?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it is tough. We have 500,000 employees. Um, and it's interesting this particular one, right? Because we've tried to do like the overarching, like every audience campaign, like stakeholders and shareholders and employees and customers. It's really hard. You kind of end up with this like homogenous, like boring thing. So this campaign is really just for SMBs. Like we've tried to say internally, this is not, UPS is not unstoppable. Hold that thought. It's really about this insight that entrepreneurs and small business people have this unstoppable spirit. I will say though, because it's been pretty well received, that now people are kind of taking that on as sort of an attribute of UPS. So people are sort of saying, you'll see it pop up in like earnings statements or internal communications. People are like, "Hey, we're unstoppable. Let's do this thing. Like, let's get it done." So I think maybe not by design, but just sort of out of like this similar feeling, people internally are starting to do it. So it's not something we've really tried very hard at, and maybe that is making it work better. I don't know.
Authenticity,
Yeah,
right?
maybe. But I think UPSers are seeing it more as like a shared value than us saying this is the value you should demonstrate. So yeah, so we're not really trying, but hopefully people are for sure. Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that.
Great work, Betsy. Very energizing. I really admire your guys' ability to show up in culture to reimagine your image. My question is, and the courage to change the big brown truck, change your boxes, like all that's such a big lift. It's awesome. Beyond just showing the research, how did you sell that in up to the C-suite?
Selling the campaign or just selling like changing things? Yeah. Yeah, so we have a I will say like 10 years ago none of that would have ever happened. It takes leadership. We have a very sort of progressive and interesting CMO. Black man joined the company 5 years ago, isn't a lifer UPSer, and I think just really he really had a vision that we were all just desperate for. We were so excited that this was, and sort of like he gave us an inch, and like we were like, yes, we're gonna like run through that through that wall. So I think having leadership really helped. I think he's quite influential in the C-suite, and he convinced folks that we can change. Like you probably saw, I didn't actually realize it until I was just watching that video. There were probably like 20 different truck wraps in that video. And that's almost like a signal to the market, like that we will change a little bit, because that was a sacred space, as you can imagine, the big brown truck. So just doing that, like internally, people have gotten really excited about that. And he's sold that in. Kevin has sold that in. So I think leadership and just the opportunity, just the little bit of leeway to take it, has been really made all the difference. Yeah.
So I'm really curious about the question.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you. Part of the brand as I've grown up with UPS is an audio cue, which is the hum of the truck downshifting as it pulls in. You hear that, right? And that's distinctly, in my mind, UPS. So how does the brand evolution with the electrification of the fleet, how do you balance those?
Yeah, it's funny. Some people say that, and then some people don't necessarily hear that. Like some people cue on audio. We hear a lot of time that dogs can recognize the UPS truck, like the sound of it. Oh yeah, because some drivers give out treats.
You got one, I got
Yeah,
those dogs too. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because the dog starts barking, right? Yeah. So I think like any car company, we're kind of in the same boat, right? So if you drive a Porsche and you get an electric Porsche, like part of having a Porsche is that it sounds good, right? Like sounds amazing, right? So I think they're trying to figure that out. I think we're trying to figure that out. Electrification is interesting in the delivery space, or the kind of big package delivery trucks and tractor trailers, because the technology is a little bit farther behind, because it's heavier weights, longer distances, stuff like that. So, but yeah, we have plenty of electric trucks, and right now I don't think they make much sound. It's an interesting question. I think audio branding is super interesting.
I was going to ask, so I would imagine most of the small business interaction is all online, right? Like you mentioned earlier, they're not talking to, enterprise salespeople, manage their accounts and stuff, which means like most of your branding is through this, UX experience that somebody has with UPS.com. How much of your, as you're thinking about this brand stuff, that ultimately trickles down to people clicking and having an experience, tracking their package, looking for something that's lost or when it happens or whatever. How much of your purview or is like down into that space versus like somebody who sits in like a CX design?
Yeah. So we do have different groups that manage that, but we work really closely together. Part of my role is sort of like a brand, I'm going to say brand management, which is kind of an old term, but like identity and design and experience and part of that. And so there are teams that are working on digital CX that we plug into essentially. So there are different teams, big organization, there are groups, that have different responsibilities, but it's all considered as part of that overall journey and experience, right? It has to be. I'll pivot a little bit from your question. One of the things that we've done as a company that has been really successful and a little bit different for us is by putting UPS products and services and making them available on other platforms. So we have this thing called Digital Access Program, DAP, and basically we have partnerships. I'm going to use Shopify as an example, because most people know what that is. You build your website, you run your little e-commerce business off of it. They do all your back end billing, all of that stuff. So you can access UPS right through that. And the experience is actually Shopify/UPS, but you don't have to roll out of there, go to ups.com, ship your package. Like it's all integrated. And it's been hugely successful. So in some cases, we're disintermediating ourselves in a way, but putting us in the place that's much more easy for the customer to use through that journey. And it's fascinating from a brand perspective, because you're like, okay, I feel like I'm giving up something, right? I want to control that journey. But then again, it's so much better from an experience perspective that we've seen a lot of success. That was $100 million company 3 years ago. It'll be a $3 billion company this year, like part of our business. Yeah. 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 I think it's a little bit about like protecting the brand, and it's different for sure.
We have time for one more question. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk more to the paid side of it, because that's more where my team plays. But I would say, we're into experimentation. We're really open. We're doing a lot of measurement around social, kind of our own proprietary measurement, trying to understand if we're seeing brand change. We're also doing a lot in the influencer space, which I know everybody is. Obviously that's can be challenging, but I think, we've really tried to focus on those people who have cultural relevance as well as business relevance, right? So trying to find kind of that sweet spot. And have had some success there. But yeah, I would say experimentation, trying to get better at measurement, are some of the things we're really focused on. Does that answer your question? Great. Oh, yeah. So no, we did a partnership with Taylor Swift and we talked about it at breakfast. So everybody, we said we were going to ask me that question. So yes, we did a partnership with her Reputation album in 2017 where we put the album cover on the side of a bunch of UPS trucks. And we did get to work with her. And the one story I'll say is that her mom, who we got to meet with several times, has a Great Dane that's like this big named Kitty who came to all of our meetings. So
And he does not chase after the UPS truck.
no, yeah, I don't know. I hope not. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Betsy.
you.
Pleasure.